Hi everyone, it's Sarah and I'm going to be doing the intimidating TBR tag. I recently have been looking for some tags to get myself involved in, and one that caught my interest was the intimidating TBR book tag. And I saw over on Emily's channel, her channel name is Books with Emily Fox. I will leave her video down below so you can go watch hers as well. I'm not sure who actually created this tag, but Emily's video is where I got inspired to do this. And this tag especially jumped out at me because recently all I've wanted to do is read big books that are on my TBR. So I thought this would be perfect, and we're just going to get straight into the questions. And the first question is, what book have you been unable to finish? I think every month I usually end up with a DNF somewhere. If I'm not enjoying it, I give up. So the last book that I DNF'd was Midnight is a Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. And if you've watched my March wrap-up video, which was probably the last video before this one, I mentioned that I DNF'd this, and it was mainly because I felt like I was in a Twilight fanfiction, Twilight fever dream kind of situation. I'm not sure why the author decided to mention Twilight so much throughout this book, but I wouldn't recommend it, and I wish I'd given up earlier because I was actually not enjoying this 30 pages in, and I was about to give up then, but I carried on for some reason, and I regret it. I ended up DNFing it. The next question is, what book have you not read because you haven't had the time? Honestly, that's my whole bookcase. Any book that's on here, if it's not been read yet, I haven't had the time to get around to it. But two that specifically stand out for this question is Leviathan Wakes and Senlin Ascends. These two books have held my interest for a long time, since I've had them, since I've seen people talking about them on social media. They've kept my interest. I continuously want to pick these books up, and I just never do. Because there's been other books that at the time that I go to pick up a new book feel like they're pulling me in more than these two, but I still have a lot of interest in reading these two. I just haven't had the time to get around to them. The third question is, what book have you not read because it's a sequel? And this was pretty easy. I have started a lot of series, so I have a lot of sequels that I've not started, but the one that jumped out at me and was the easiest answer for me was specifically Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. And that's because I read Assassin's Apprentice, the first book in this first trilogy, and I didn't love it. I think I rated it a 4-star because I found that there was nothing really wrong with it, but on a personal level I didn't feel overwhelmed by it. I felt nothing at finishing it, and I've tried reading it twice now. I've read it twice, and the second time I read it I felt like I shouldn't have read it again. It just felt a bit pointless. So I do want to carry on because I've heard amazing things about Robin Hobb, all her books, and this trilogy, but I'm just so nervous to pick it up. And it's a big book too for someone who's not that invested. The next question is, what book have you not picked up because it's brand new? So I have hauled quite a few books since the beginning of the year, but I don't usually buy a lot of new releases. I'm currently reading This Is Why We Lied by Karen Slaughter. I got an ARC sent to me from the publisher, so I am currently reading that one, and that's the newest. It's not even been released yet. It gets released in June. So I decided to pick one up that's on my bookcase that I've recently hauled. It came out last year, but the paperback was published this year. And I've heard about it more so this year than I did last year. And that's Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. It's just one of my newer books that I have purchased personally, and I just haven't picked it up yet because it's quite new to my case and I haven't decided to pick it up yet. But I am looking forward to picking this one up, and I'm hoping to read it this year. The next question is, what book have you not read because it's by an author you've not enjoyed before? And that will have to be The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. So many people love Becky Chambers, but I finished A Psalm for the Wild Built, I think it's called, and I gave it a 3-star. It's not like I hated it, but it wasn't for me, and now I have a feeling that Becky Chambers' writing is going to be similar in her other work, and it's just not going to be for me. So I am a bit worried about this one, but I've heard great things, so I won't get rid of it, and I want to give it a chance. The next question is, what book have you not picked up because you just haven't been in the mood for it? And I am a complete mood reader, so there's many that I've put off for a long time that I just shouldn't have because I've not been in the mood for them. There is one specifically that I think about that's been probably on my TBR for a long time, but I'm not going to mention that one because I feel like I probably have been in the mood for it before because it is a thriller book, and I've been in the mood for thrillers since I've owned that book, but I just never picked that one up specifically. So it could fit, but I wanted to pick these ones up. because I'm going to see if I can actually pick all these up with one hand. It's not looking great. All these books have one thing in common, and it's that they are all non-fiction. These are all true crime, I think. These are mainly my like true crime event happening non-fiction books. I love true crime and I've really enjoyed some true crime books, but I very rarely feel like I'm in the mood for non-fiction. So I'm going to put these down now because my wrist is about to break. I tend to listen to non-fiction more than I do like physically read them. So I feel like when I have the physical editions, I don't really get around to them. But every now and then I'll have something that I need to do that keeps me quite busy that I could listen to an audiobook with, and then I will find a non-fiction that I can follow along with. It just doesn't happen as often as it should. But I do still want to read all of them. I just very rarely get in the mood for them, and that's probably why I have such a like small stack of them too. The next question is, what book have you not read because it's humongous? And this is funny because recently I've been wanting to pick up big books. I actually love a big book. If I see a big book, there's something that just draws me to them. I get that if it's tedious and it's not going anywhere, a long book can be awful, but I'm happy to DNF, so it's fine. So it's not like I'm going to put myself through the pain of over 1,000 pages. But then again, I have done that in the past. The Stand by Stephen King. I tried my hardest to enjoy that book and I read every single page and hated it. That being said, I do love a big book. But we have to include a humongous book. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it. The humongous book that I've picked is The Count of Monte Cristo. This is over 1,000 pages long. About 1,200 pages. So it's a big book. I don't know if it's the biggest book on my bookcase without having a look. This is the one that stands out for me. I think it's because it's like a classic as well and the writing's quite small. It's all in all typically intimidating. But I felt drawn towards this one for a while. I just have other very big books that I'm currently reading at the minute. So I don't feel like I can add this one on top of that. So I guess I haven't got to it because it's humongous, because I'm getting to other humongous books. The next question is, what book have you not read because you bought it because it was a cover buy and then you've seen that it's got bad reviews? And I think there's only one that sticks out for me here, and that is The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. This is a dark academia book that I clearly picked up because it's beautiful and it's dark academia. Since then, all I've heard is bad things about it. I don't know specifically on Goodreads what the average rating is, but it's more on Bookstagram and Booktube that I've seen people have not been enjoying this one. And then the last question is, what is the most intimidating book on your TBR? And I've got two. So it's Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I've never read a Kristen Hanna before. I've heard amazing things, especially from the historical fiction fans. But I am not an historical fiction fan, and I find historical fiction quite difficult to get into. I've read a few and not really enjoyed them, but I really want to try something by this author, and I have enjoyed historical fiction before. It's just very rare. So I do want to try something by this author. I found this in a charity shop and I thought this was the best way to give her a go, but I'm nervous. The last one is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, and it's the same reasoning. It's just not my type of book that I usually pick up. That's what intimidates me more than any big book ever could, is reading a book that I don't usually read from, like a genre I don't usually read from, or a genre that I've not enjoyed in the past. Obviously, I tend to not pick those genres up as much, but there'll be specific reasons why I feel drawn to certain books in those genres, and then they'll sit on my bookcase for years until I eventually bite the bullet and give it a go. But this is a tag. I thought I will tag some people. I will leave who I'm tagging down below in the description box, but feel free to give this a go and mention that I tagged you if you want to give it a go, because you're all welcome to give this a go and enjoy yourselves. That's what tags are meant for. So yeah, if you tag down below, also feel no pressure to do it. It's just a bit of fun. If you fancy doing it, I'll look forward to seeing your answers. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Friday with another video. Bye. I've never read a Kristen Hanna. I've never heard. Ugh.